Last year, almost 1 out of every 4 renters in the overall Denver metro area paid 50% or more of their income in rent. The Boulder area had the highest percent of households paying more than half of their income in rent. That is 31%. And Boulder also had the highest median rent, $1,204 a month. The Grand Junction area isn't far behind. There, 29% of renters are paying more than half of their income for rent. That is from an iNews analysis of census data, and a report earlier this year from the Joint Center for Housing Studies at Harvard University shows across the country rents have been rising while the supply of affordable housing continues to drop. Here in Denver, the redevelopment of the land where Stapleton Airport once stood has been underway for 15 years. And a part of the commitment the city made with developer Forest City was that 10% of all housing would be affordable to buy or to rent. The idea was that residents of all income levels would be able to live where they worked. But so far, affordable housing at Stapleton stands at less than 5%. Reporter Mary McCarthy has more.
This video on the Stapleton website describes some of the affordable housing options available.
We have an agreement with Forest City that's working towards having a certain percentage of the housing product be for rental.
That agreement is laid out in the Stapleton Affordable Housing Plan signed in 2001. 33% of homes would be rentals. But the reality today is just a little over half of that, 17%. The Stapleton Citizens Advisory Board, known as CAB, says that developer Forest City isn't honoring its commitment to housing diversity.
Rental housing itself provides housing for a large segment of Denver's community. And instead of having 33%, the CAB has documented year after year after year in writing with notices to Forest City that we lag way behind that goal.
Speaking to Rocky Mountain PBS, Forest City backed away from the goal of 1/3 rental properties, saying that had not been a firm commitment.
We're talking about projections. And when you think about it, those projections were done about 15 years ago. If you can imagine trying to project ahead from where we are right now to 2030 and determine what will the market be demanding. Will the market want more rental or more ownership? And if ownership, and what price points and things of that sort, it's very difficult to do.
Forest City said its development is not led by the initial goals for Stapleton, but rather by the marketplace.
It has to be successful.
The Citizens Advisory Board, however, has continually pointed out, including in this 2012 memorandum, that Forest City is contractually obligated to the initial housing quotas for Stapleton, saying the numbers were not mere goals, but rather enforceable development requirements. For now, Forest City points out that it's currently exceeding the goal of 20% of rental units being priced for affordable housing. But that number glosses over the fact that Stapleton is far behind on the goal of 1/3 of all residences being rentals. If they were sticking to that, then the number of low-income rental units should be 483, not the current 277. And the initial plan also called for some of the for-sale homes to be part of the affordable program. The goal was 10%, but the reality today is that less than 5% of the over 6,000 homes are reserved for low-income buyers. The Stapleton Development Corporation, or SDC, is a nonprofit that was set up to manage the transformation of Stapleton, and it acknowledges that current numbers on affordable housing and housing diversity are less than stellar.
It is something we need to improve. There's no doubt about that.
The SDC says it does have the power to withhold land from Forest City as a penalty for not upholding its contractual obligations on issues like affordable housing. But despite constant prodding from the Citizens Advisory Board, it has never done so.
Penalties are always a distraction.
Forest City points out that 5 to 10 years do remain in the build-out of Stapleton, saying that leaves plenty of time to expand affordable housing. But in the initial plan, Forest City had committed to developing affordable housing consistent with the pace of development of market-rate housing. Over a decade and a half into the Stapleton project, the development of market-rate homes here is moving full steam ahead, while the numbers on affordable housing and housing diversity are lagging behind. For Colorado State of Mind, I'm Mary McCarthy.